I'm Steven Craig.
I'm Lee AID.
And I'm John Royalty.
I'm Adam Rosal.
And this is the Star Wars pre-show special 19th episode of
The Movie Review
Show! We have two special guests. John, can you tell everyone about yourself?
I'm just a normal guy and really enjoy Star Wars. Enjoyed it for many years. And I got a wife, a couple kids, like to do outdoor stuff. That's about it. Just an average guy.
Thank you, John. And how about you, Adam?
I'm Adam Rosal. Been a fan since the beginning. Work for my church, and that's about it.
Well, thank you very much. We're all wearing our Star Wars shirts. Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, comes out next week. And this is the Star Wars pre-show. We are going to discuss everything from The Phantom Menace to The Rise of Skywalker. And at the end of the show, we are going to say which Star Wars movie is our favorite, give a score of how good we think the new movie will be, and we'll each tell a Star Wars joke. All four of us have very strong opinions when it comes to Star Wars, and Adam and I seldom agree when it comes to movies. So this should be very interesting. Let's get on with the show. All four of us are going to give it a talking point, and then the rest of us are going to discuss it with that person. So, John, what's your talking point?
Well, I've always wondered what's the deal with Jar Jar Binks anyway. I mean, I just don't really get the character. I think he's kind of stupid. I know he kind of gives some comic relief in the movie, and I guess I get that side of it. But I just don't really get, why he's really part of the movie anyway. And such a main character.
Mm-hmm.
But I have heard there's some rumors out there that he is possibly the Phantom Menace because we never knew really who the Phantom Menace was in the first movie.
Right.
They never really revealed who that was. I guess might lead on that was Palpatine, but I think that's stupid too. So I've heard some rumors that potentially, there's a martial arts teaching about a bumbling idiot actually being the master, and which I think is a really cool concept, and I can see that in the movie. I've looked at a few things and a few people talking about it, and I kind of tend to lean that way that potentially, that was the original idea that he was supposed to be the master and the Phantom Menace. And you see it in different clips of the movie where Jar Jar Binks is kind of in the back scene in some really important parts of the movie, and he's kind of manipulating the situation. And then we find the battle on Naboo where they're in the battle, and Jar Jar Binks is always fighting his different people. And he's always winning. He doesn't ever get hurt. He always seems to beat his enemy. And that would kind of lead to believe that he is the bumbling idiot that is the master. And so I think that's a really cool concept. I wish George Lucas would have gone that direction. I think it would have been, for my generation, the Luke, I'm your father moment, because no one would have ever seen that coming. And I kind of wish he would have done that. I think it would have made that character a lot better. But anyway, that's my thought. So
I heard that George Lucas test screened that idea, like Jar Jar Binks being the Phantom Menace and being the evil guy at the end of the movie. And they didn't like the ending with Jar Jar Binks being evil, so he changed it. And I think that was a huge mistake. I agree with you totally,
yeah, I think
John.
it's stupid.
That would have been one of those Luke, I am your father moments, I think, because no one would have thought that Jar Jar Binks would have been the Phantom Menace.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think?
Well, I personally think when it comes to Jar Jar Binks, I apparently really like the character because he brought, as John said, a lot of comedy to the movies. But on top of that, he also was always there where everything needed to be, right place, right place, right time. But one of the scenes that comes to mind is where he's in the back of behind Qui-Gon Jinn, juggling a bunch of droids, or no, not juggling a bunch of droids, juggling a bunch of items in Watto's shop, and how that had any relevance at all just didn't make any sense. Just some of the scenes he was in made sense, some didn't. But when it comes down to the Phantom Menace, I think they were trying to get more at the character of Darth Maul being the Phantom Menace. That's just my own personal opinion. But as I've said, I've watched a lot of Star Wars movies, a lot of hours into it. But that's just my own personal opinion.
What do you think, Lee?
I would agree with you guys. Dr. Binks probably was slated to be the Phantom Menace. If you think about it, Star Wars is all about shifting alliances.
Mm-hmm.
The dark side or the the light side, and spies are on both sides. So it's all about shifting alliances. So it would make total sense that there would be this big reveal that the guy that's supposed to be an idiot is really dark and he's been a spy the whole time. That makes total sense to me.
Well, our next plot point is going to be from.
Really quick, when it comes down to it, why would they have revealed Jar Jar Binks being the Phantom Menace in the first movie? Wouldn't they have waited until like the second movie possibly to do that?
Well, if he is supposed to be the Phantom Menace, you would think they'd reveal him in the movie called The Phantom Menace.
Well, I mean, he's a Phantom Menace. I mean, he's menacing things that are going on in the movie. Doesn't mean they would have revealed them. It's not like episode 4 or episode 5 was called Luke, I Am Your Father. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe he screen like Steve said, he screen tested it, and people didn't like the concept. So in the second movie, he changed his direction and he did something different with them. Which again, I think does make sense because you see this character, and all of a sudden he becomes really irrelevant in the next movies. And he was kind of a main character in the first one, and all of a sudden he's just kind of there after that.
Mm-hmm.
He's there, but he's not really written in. And I just think that he had plans for him, and all of a sudden he just kind of is stupid,
I agree. I think that's what happens in the second movie. He just, like you said, he's just standing there doing nothing for most of the movie.
Yeah.
It's like, and you're thinking, like, I think he did have something planned, but then he didn't go through with it, so there was no point in making him a main character anymore.
Right.
So what they did with him is instead of making him what they wanted to make him with, they probably tried to alternate his character a little bit. So instead of being the Phantom Menace or whatever it is that we want to believe, they made him into somebody who brought the Naboo and the Gungans together at the end to overthrow the not the Separatists, but the blockade, Viceroy and all that.
Yeah. And I think he just became a dumb character.
So
could have been really cool.
Okay, are you ready for the next talking point, Adam?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Adam, what's your talking point?
Well, my thought was, why was Anakin at the very beginning of the entire series made without a father? I mean, we look at it, the entire series wouldn't have existed without Anakin. So you have to look at, well, why make Anakin to begin with? Why not just have some random youngling from some backwater planet, who maybe Palpatine or thought was really strong in the Force?
I think George Lucas was trying to do like a Jesus thing, kind of, and I don't think that was necessary. I don't think we have to see Anakin as a Jesus figure.
Yeah. I mean, also when it comes down to it, a lot of people say that it may have been Palpatine that went and had the whole situation where it created Anakin. But a lot of people may not think, or may even disagree with that and bring up the point of Darth Plagueis actually having to do with the creation of Anakin. So it's kind of a toss across the board. A lot of people believe and disagree on things, but that's why we call it Star Wars Legends, because it's anything that has happened across the Star Wars timeline, whether it's, canon or not, before Disney took over, it's all legends. I mean, whether it's from video games to movies to books to comics, all that stuff. So it's just, theories that just no longer play any relevance.
Well, I think that next talking point is from you, Lee.
Okay, well, my talking point changed, but my question is that in the very first movie, The Last Hope, early on, just before Luke discovers his aunt and uncle are dead, they discover a bunch of Jawas, right, are dead, and Obi-Wan makes a comment about, well, this must have been the work of stormtroopers. They're deadly accurate, something like that.
Yeah.
So he makes that statement early on. The stormtroopers are really marksmen. Mm-hmm. So what happens the rest of the whole first movie? We see the stormtroopers fire and miss at the rebels like hundreds of times. I mean, there's not one time that a significant character on the good side is hit by a stormtrooper. Yet they're battling it out. There's stormtroopers all over. They're firing them. They're in hallways, and no one ever gets hit. Even a wing shot. It's like, that's kind of I don't want to call it a plot hole, but it seems to be an inconsistency. If you're going to say the stormtroopers are deadly accurate marksmen at the beginning, then don't have them firing and missing at Han Solo and Luke Skywalker and R2-D2 the whole rest of the movie. It just seems inconsistent.
That makes sense.
You know a lot about stormtroopers. He's saying that like they're supposed to be
Well-
sharpshooters, but they keep missing.
Well, don't forget the stormtroopers you're talking about are our actual standard stormtroopers. But what we call on Tatooine, they were called sand troopers. There are different classifications, different divisions of stormtroopers. Like you look in our military today, you've got the Navy, the Army, the Marines, the Air Force, all that stuff. Well, in Star Wars, you've got stormtroopers and sand troopers. You've got space troopers. You've got scout troopers, snow troopers. You got all these different kinds. Well, also the different kinds of troopers in those different divisions may be more trained at using certain weapons better than our standard stormtroopers that we know of.
Okay.
I mean, if you notice, some of the stormtroopers in the first part of A New Hope have that orange shoulder pad. Well, that right there signifies that that's a sand trooper. Not to mention how dusty looking their armor is. That could also just be dust off the landscape as well. But for the most part, the standard stormtroopers came from academies where you just graduate as an average student. Where some of these troopers may have taken extra courses to become maybe better shots and learn from higher up marksmen from higher up in the Empire. So why the sand crawler is getting blasted to bits, is probably more of maybe Darth Vader's own personal squad that he sent down. Somebody who's trained just for Darth Vader instead of your average bunch of guys.
So Obi-Wan should have said sand troopers are
Excellent marksman.
Yeah, that's
must have been sand troopers.
Why not
instead of
specify?
stormtroopers.
I think when the first movie came out, they really weren't thinking about all of this information, that's all specific. But as time goes on, they change things up, and you'll see that throughout the movies.
Yeah.
Thanks, Adam.
Okay.
Thanks, Lee.
Thanks.
My talking point is next. My talking point is this. In the first movie, The Phantom Menace, Yoda says to Anakin, "I sense much fear in you." Unless I don't know what the word fear means in this situation, I think of fear as being scared. And in the first three movies, Anakin's done all the stuff, the pod racing, flying a ship all over the place, like crazy. He does not look scared to me at all. So unless, like I said, I'm thinking of fear in the wrong way.
Well, I think the fear that he's talking about is what he talks about later in the movie is the fear of losing things.
But
so Anakin has a fear of losing things.
Is that a bad thing then?
Well, in this case it is because
it's not bad, but it's still fear.
Because the fear of losing things, then Yoda says the fear of loss leads to jealousy, and it leads, well, how does he put it in
fear leads to anger,
in number
anger
3
leads
in
to
Return of
hate,
the
hate
Sith.
leads to suffering.
In Return of the Sith, he explains it to Anakin at that point.
But the one thing we want to bring up is Yoda said this in the first movie, so anything between the second and third movies has yet to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying to we can't base this on 1, 2, and 3. We can only base it on 1. And at the time, don't forget when Yoda had mentioned this, this is the first time Anakin's been to space. Anywhere that he's been off the dust place, he calls the dust planet. Or also Luke. But as we know, Anakin flies a pod. He's had plenty of experience racing these things, but he's never actually flown a starfighter. And you're scared of something. I mean, what's the first thing excitement's going to do? It's you're going to forget all about everything else. And so when you're as you said, when you're flying a ship all over the place, you're looking more at, hey, this is a lot of fun. This is pretty cool.
I think he's talking about fear of loss, personally.
Yes, because he is afraid of losing his mother. But at the same time, when he's flying the ships around and all this other stuff, he's not thinking about that.
Right.
I mean, you can only really think about one thing at a time.
You can hide your fear quite well.
It leads to jealousy.
All the time. People act bravely on the outside, but they're really on the inside. They're fearful of whatever.
Other things, yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, next we're going to discuss The Force Awakens. Okay, we're going to do one talking point about the movie The Force Awakens. At the very beginning of The Force Awakens, you see the stormtroopers appear from the left-hand side. You see Poe giving the partial map to BB-8, where Luke's at. and Kylo Ren entering from the left side of the screen with exhaust pipes shooting up. And to me, it seemed like a complete rehash of Episode 4, New Hope's beginning, where the stormtroopers enter. Leia gives the message to R2D2, and Darth Vader coming in from the side.
Darth Vader technically came in from the front.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm
But
yeah.
entering
like
the
that.
scene.
Yeah. So, do you guys feel that was a rehash? And
I
if you did or didn't, do you think it helped or hurt the movie if it was a rehash?
It was a rehash by far. I mean, it's like they don't have any new material. You know, they're running. All they got to run with is the original saga. You know, they at the time when they first came out with it, they didn't know what they were doing.
I know when I was watching it the first time, I was like, "What? Wait a second, that's the same scene." And I'm like, "Oh," and then I kind of dismissed it. Then I saw the next scene, I'm like, "No," and then the third scene, I'm like, "What?" You know, all three rehash.
I mean, I will give Disney the respect. You know, this movie is definitely more hilarious than what we're used to seeing. I mean, don't get me wrong, the original series did have some humor in it. Probably the most humor that you're gonna see, even though it was dumb, was Jar Jar Binks from the original series. But in this one, it was more basic. They were trying to put stuff here and there, kind of like you'd see in maybe Pirates of the Caribbean.
What do you think?
Just humor.
Oh, I actually think it works, especially the new generation of Star Wars fans. They haven't seen this yet. It's only for the old Star hardcore fans. And me watch Star Wars movies too many times. They're too familiar with it.
Well,
But I mean, think about it, they rehash all kinds of stuff. The Death Star keeps appearing. I mean, call it different things, but so I think basically it's the old give them what they want, and so they knew Star Wars fans like certain things, and the first time it worked, first and the last hope, so we're gonna do it again. So I actually am not quite as big of a Star Wars fan, movie enthusiast as you guys are, but I love them, but I'm not quite to your level of devotion, I guess. So for me, I didn't have a problem with it, but I can see why.
How about you, John?
I didn't mind it. I thought it was fine to start that way because we hadn't seen a new Star Wars movie in quite some time, and the first three were just different than the other ones. So I felt like it kind of brought back the old feel of Star Wars, and so I didn't feel like it was a problem. I thought
like nostalgia.
It didn't really bother me at all. It was more nostalgic, and I thought it was pretty cool. How they started the movie and got the whole new trilogy going. So
I think if it comes down to it, if the Star Wars fans really wanted to watch that, go back and watch Episode 4.
I don't think I agree with that. Strangely enough, I think I agree with Adam. It's like,
Adam and Steve agreed.
Wow. It's like why do the same scenes over again?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, all this material you could do the movie with, and then you just do the same three things.
I'm kind of a
trying to
nostalgic
transmit
guy.
data. I mean, you try to move data from one place to another place and do it in the most logical, efficient way.
I like
it makes
it.
sense to do it that way.
I think it works.
I mean, coming down to it, you look at the two spin-offs that they've done, fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But when they come to the main saga, it's complete crap.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have yet to see the newest stuff, but I mean, big hopes on that. But if it's going to be anything like this movie was, it's gonna, it's really gonna hurt Star Wars in general.
Thanks. Well, next we're going to discuss The Last Jedi. Okay, we're going to talk about The Last Jedi. Before we continue, I want to just say that I was watching the movie and I was trying to pay special attention, close attention to the movie, because I didn't care for the movie that much. And I think the reason why is I thought Luke wouldn't act the way he acts in the movie. But when I watched this time, in the scene where he pulls his lightsaber out and it looks like he's going to kill Kylo Ren, he says what happened was, in a moment of instinct, that's why he thought about killing Kylo Ren, because he saw everything bad that he was going to do to all the people he loved, and instinctively, he turned the lightsaber on. So it wasn't like he was going to kill him, it was a moment of weakness and instinct that made him do that, and I thought when I saw it, that did make more sense that his character would do that. But anyways, I digress. The next question that we're all going to work on is...
Really quick there, Steve. On that specific topic, there are two different scenes like that. There's the one
Three.
Okay, well, three.
Yeah.
The one that I remember, besides that one, is one where Kylo Ren is telling Rey his point of view,
Right.
and which looks completely different.
Right, because
So not to confuse everybody about one specific scene from another. But what was the third scene?
Well, at the very beginning, when Luke tells Rey what happened, he doesn't tell the whole story.
So he tells her two different stories.
Yeah, and then like when Kyle tells his story, his view's different than Luke's, obviously. And then Luke finally says what happens later on, and he says it instinctively. He did it because he saw what was going to happen to all the people he loved because of Ben Solo.
And do you think at that moment he knew? This is a little tidbit and thought that I think of. That moment he recognized that there was a dark power manipulating the situation, and that's why he had a moment of weakness, and that's why he turned himself off from the Force.
Oh, well, he said he felt ashamed.
Yeah, but then he turned himself off from the Force because remember Rey said, "You shut yourself off from the Force."
Mm-hmm.
Maybe at that moment, that's why he shut himself off from the Force because he realized there was something else at work here and going on other than just Snoke.
I'm not sure what you're saying.
That possibly the Emperor was still alive, and he felt it at that moment.
I never took it that way. I mean, I'm not saying it isn't possible. I just, once you see the Emperor get thrown down the shaft, you think he's dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you think that's the end of the Emperor.
But maybe he could feel him at that moment.
But
and he
again,
sensed him.
that's kind of getting into the 9th movie, which we haven't really gotten to yet. But still, I mean, that's a way to look at it. I never thought about it that way, but personally, I thought he was dead, and that was it.
But actually, the Emperor thing you're talking about, in The Last Jedi, Kylo and Rey can see each other a couple of times through the movie.
Yeah.
Okay, and he goes, "You can't be doing this. This is like too powerful for you," to Rey. And then Snoke later on says that he's the one that's bridging them, and that's why they can see each other. But then Snoke gets killed, and at the end of the movie, Rey and Kylo see each other again, which means Snoke couldn't have been the one that was doing it. So, like you and I discussed earlier, before the show, it made it the Emperor that was controlling Snoke the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Because Snoke obviously couldn't have been the one bridging them because he's dead and they were still bridged afterwards.
And somehow Luke sensed that the Emperor is still alive. At that moment, they had a weakness with Kylo Ren, and that's why he shut himself off and hid.
There is a third possibility. If you watch a lot of stuff in the series, there is what we call the daughter and the son with the father, and how the son represents the dark side, the daughter represents the light side, and everything. Well, you could be looking at a process like that also, that, maybe the son is still in existence, because we don't really know much about that. I mean, at least us right here, right now, unless we were to go research it. But still, that maybe that's the son that's playing some sort of an effect on Kylo Ren, giving the bridging effect to try to make Luke think, wait, what's going on here? Why is this dark side so powerful? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, because Rey could be the recreated form of the daughter, where Kylo could be even though yes, Kylo is the son of Han and Leia, doesn't mean that he is the reincarnation of the son. Just because a character is one thing doesn't mean that person is a reincarnation of something from a previous life. Even though, in our real world, we don't believe that kind of stuff. I mean, some of us might, some of us might not. But in the Star Wars universe, it's a possibility. We don't really know.
Here's the next question.
Okay.
Who was Rey's parents? Okay.
Okay.
There are some theories of who Rey's parents are, or who she is. And here's some theories I wrote down. Okay. 1, Rey is Kylo's sister. Rey is a clone. Rey is Luke's daughter. Rey was kidnapped. And what do you guys think?
Well, what if Rey's parents ended up becoming what do we call them? Junk or scrap dealers, or scavengers. Because if you think about it, she was left on a scavenger's world, and just about anything she knows is scraps. Why is it that she knows why is it that she knows how to get her way around machines? I mean, the only people who would really know that would be, scrap dealers or scavengers, that kind of stuff.
I am 99.9% positive that she's a clone. I don't want her to be. I'd rather have her have a more exciting life. But when she falls in the cave in The Last Jedi, and she goes up to the mirror thing or whatever it is, ice or whatever, and she sees like a whole bunch of herself, and then she goes, show me my parents, and then those two shadows come up and they turn to one, and then she touches the ice and she sees herself. All that to me seems to lead towards that she's a clone.
But even if she was a clone, who's the original parents to her?
Well,
the original Rey. That's kind of the dead end question.
What do you think, Adam?
I think somehow she's and I know we're skipping into the next movie that we haven't seen yet, but I think that she's somehow connected to the Emperor Palpatine somehow. I think there's a connection there, possibly a granddaughter, as some of the theories have been said. But I think there's some sort of connection. I think and if it is a clone, it would be a clone that Palpatine would have manipulated somehow. But definitely, she's connected to him in a certain sense. I really think.
How about you, Lee?
And I think if people are overthinking this too much, and I think Rey and the movie shouldn't be fixating on it, because the more she does that, the less she can focus on her mission right now. So if her parents come up and reveal herself to her, that's fine. But if she's off trying to figure out who her parents are, she's not focused on helping the resistance / good guys win. So from that, in a way, I don't think it really matters who her parents are, but it could matter if she's fixated on finding that out and she's not focusing on what she should be focusing on. So you can leave it to Star Wars hardcore fans to speculate, but I think the character in the movie shouldn't worry about it.
Okay, well, next we're going to show...
One last thing about that scene. It couldn't have been any more stupid. Where she's snapping her fingers and looking back and forth. I mean, it was just dumb.
I didn't
well, I mean, what other movie had something like that? Name one movie.
And I agree. I think it was a great.
It makes sense, but at the same time,
it created mystery for her character, which I thought was really cool.
I mean, look at the episode of The Empire Strikes Back where Luke goes into the tree, or not the tree, but the cave.
Mm-hmm.
It was the same idea of Rey going into that hole where the water was, but his confrontation had nothing to do with multiple selves or.
Right, but it would make sense if she's a clone.
But I mean, it's a different situation.
But I mean, if it was a clone, don't you think they would have done something a little bit different? Maybe like seeing some sort of like pods or something like that, or fetuses.
But it'll make it too obvious. It's gotta be.
I think it created mystery.
You don't want to give a direct answer. Like,
that was a good way of
hinting at what the answer might be without
revealing it. Yeah.
Could be hinting at something, but also could be hinting at the factor that listen, let's just make a pointless scene, and then later on people will be like, well, why did that?
I think later on we're gonna find that had a point. They're gonna make a point.
It could, yeah. But the worst thing would be is if they ended the series without ever revealing who Rey's parents really were.
That wouldn't be the worst thing. It's part of the holding suspense, and you need some mysteries in life. If you figured out everything.
Well, but it says it's going to be the final movie, so we know. Hopefully, that something's going to come to a conclusion.
Well, next we're going to show the trailer, and we're going to talk about one particular scene in that trailer, and then we're going to tell our favorite Star Wars movie, how good we think the new movie will be, and we'll each tell a Star Wars joke. So here we go. Here's the trailer, starting now.
Passed on all we know. A 1,000 generations live in you now. Your journey. Nears its end.
Okay, we're back. And the scene we're going to talk about is the scene where Rey has the double-bladed red lightsaber. And the question is, do you think she turns bad?
Well, I mean, to start out, I think if you want to look upon the clone theory, what if it's an evil clone?
Ooh, that's possible. I hadn't thought about that.
I was watching something earlier, and it's a thought I never had come across. But if you want to play on the theory of the clones,
That might be how she finds out who she is. Like, she shows up, and then she sees herself, and she's like, ooh, I hadn't thought about that.
yeah. But now, what if she in the movie has to fight her evil clone?
That'd be cool.
That
You
would
know,
be
I mean, because there have been some scenes I've seen where there's this figure sitting off to the left side of the screen. She's like what looks like on this giant floor and just kind of moving around. Well, what if that thing standing there is her in a chair or something like that, or a throne of some kind?
I don't think she turns bad. I'm pretty positive she doesn't turn bad. Because she has opportunity after opportunity to turn bad in the last 2 movies, and she doesn't do it. I mean, Kylo Ren puts his hand out for her to join him, and she puts her hand out, but instead of grabbing it, she tries to get his lightsaber, so that way, you know, she's not going to join him. So I don't think she's going to.
And she moves rocks in the cave to help them.
Right. So the thing is, like, good
Oh,
people
right.
don't usually just suddenly turn evil, and evil people don't suddenly turn good. You know, it's.
Well, I mean, there are people who can have a change of heart at the last second, but I mean that's in most circumstances that's a pretty rare occasion.
Yeah, movies, you're going to have a progression from.
I think it's going to be some. I think it's going to be. I don't really agree with the clone theory. I think that it's going to be some kind of force dream that she has. And,
I think it's going to be.
She's going to see. It's going to reveal something. It's going to reveal something in the movie potentially. I've also heard a rumor that they really in an interview she mentioned something about she was surprised that they even had that in the trailer in the movie. So
So it might be.
so maybe it's just a point that maybe it's really something that's kind of irrelevant.
I mean,
okay.
it wouldn't be the first time that we've seen something in a movie or something in the trailer that wasn't actually in the movie.
Yeah. So we
I
don't
mean,
know.
take Titanic for example. There was a scene where they're running through this doorway. You watch the entire movie, and that specific scene that you see them running through the doorway as the water's crashing behind them isn't even in the movie.
Brandon at
You don't
work.
know.
Brandon at work says he thinks that Rey's going to turn evil and that Kylo's going to turn good. What do you guys think?
It could happen. That'd be
I
a cool
honestly-
twist, but I don't see that happening. I think in the end there might be some leanings towards that and some different things that'll happen. But I think in the end, something significant is going to happen to Kylo Ren. I kind of wonder if Kylo Ren even makes it through the end of the movie alive.
To be honest,
Actually, it probably signifies Rey using the power of the dark side to defeat the dark side.
Yeah.
well, here's a couple more points. I mean, I think we can almost guarantee about 95% that Kylo Ren's going to have some sort of redemption at the end of this. A lot of people are talking about what if there's a Han Solo Force Ghost, which honestly doesn't make any sense, but it's a possibility. What if Anakin comes back as a Force Ghost and starts talking to Kylo to bring him back? But when it comes to Rey, I mean, the things that the ideas that we have, one, she could turn evil. 2, it could possibly be a dream. 3, what if she's possessed? 4, it could possibly be an evil clone. I mean, there's.
I think, in my opinion, it's going to be like when Luke saw himself in the tree cave
in the cave on
Yeah.
Dagobah.
Yeah.
That's a possibility. But
Or it's a vision of some sort. That's what I'm
a vision.
One
I
of
mean,
those
that's
two
number 5 right there. I mean,
Well,
possibly there's so many there's so many different circumstances that could happen. We aren't really for sure, which is why we leave that to our imagination.
okay, final thoughts. Each person can tell one final thought. So, Adam, what's your final thought?
Well, I think in the end, when it comes down to it, Rey won't turn evil. Kylo will turn back to good. Whether or not he survives in the end, we don't know. Because I mean, you look at Darth Vader at the end of Episode 6, he dies.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe they want to do, it's Disney. Does Disney really do that kind of stuff? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But it comes down to it, everybody, I think at the end, you're going to watch, maybe you see a ship flying off into the sunset, per se, with a bunch of Force ghosts watching it, like Luke, possibly half a dozen of them. I don't know. It's what we all think.
Okay, what's your final thought, Lee?
I said I'll see Rey surviving at the end and having conquered the dark side, including Kylo Ren, and she's going to kind of be the new Obi-Wan Kenobi for the next generation, which we won't see, presumably. But yeah, I can see, like all of us, she's got light and dark, and I think she's going to overcome and end up on the light side.
Your final thoughts?
I'm a little worried about the movie, to be honest. I think
That J.J. Abrams is doing it?
no, I like J.J. Abrams. Actually, I think that might be the one redempting thing. He's going to fix what's it? Who did the last Johnson, or what's his name did?
Rian
Johnson. Yeah, Rian. What he
I don't think
screwed
there's
up.
anything to fix, personally.
So I think he needs to fix that. But I'm a little concerned just what they're going to do with Rey and how they're going to end the movie and how they're going to finally defeat the Emperor in the end, Palpatine in the end. Because it said from the very beginning of the movies that Anakin Skywalker was the chosen one, that he was going to bring balance to the Force, and all of a sudden we have a imbalance in the Force, and we probably really had it all along because Palpatine never died. So therefore there wasn't a balance to the Force at that point. And so I'm a little concerned about how they're going to finish the movie, because I don't think they're bringing Anakin back in this movie unless they should. That's the one thing I'm worried about. If they don't bring Anakin back somehow, or he brings balance to the Force, then I'm a little worried. I just don't like how they're going, where they're going with it, because then it deviates from the very beginning and the very beginning idea of the whole series, the whole 9 movies. If they turn all of a sudden and they make Rey the one that brings balance to the Force and defeats Palpatine, which I'm a little concerned about. So.
I mean, I think if you look back on it, where bringing balance to the Force, Anakin did bring balance to the Force. He destroyed the Sith. Now, that's not to say that there wasn't a power vacuum where a new possible threat could come back up.
But I hear you saying, John, if Senator Palpatine, Darth Sidious, is still alive, then it was
never balanced the Force because he began manipulating again, as we see, in many of the trailers. We see the starships rising again. We see all these things happening, and therefore he was never there. He was always manipulating. Even though we talked about earlier with Luke and training Kylo Ren or Ben Solo at the time. There was dark forces going on. There was manipulation happening. Even Luke said that he became, when that happened, he had already become the apprentice of my mind just Snoke. He became Snoke's apprentice, at that moment and before that. So there was already dark forces happening. So therefore there was a balance in the Force, and Anakin was supposed to bring that. So I'm a little concerned about that.
Well, I guess one more little thought I had is, why bring Snoke into it? I mean, he didn't really play much of a big role at all. I mean, compared to what we're seeing now, he was in it. He seemed to be this big threatening guy, but yet Kylo Ren killed him almost instantly. Mm-hmm. I mean, what was the point of him? He's
a puppet because Palpatine didn't want to reveal himself yet, so he used him to manipulate things.
But that's
like he did earlier.
That's if.
That was the purpose of Snoke. I think that's what we're going to find. That was the purpose of Snoke. We're all wondering, what is the purpose of Snoke? And I really believe we're going to find out that was the purpose. He was really a puppet used by Palpatine to create what we see in the conflict that we see in these movies.
Well, here's another thought. What if it's not Snoke, but Palpatine is actually in the form of Rey as a clone? I mean, think about it. Throughout the entire galactic civil war, Palpatine had God knows how many experimental labs across the galaxy. You know,
I suppose that's possible.
Camino, and Rey could be an embodiment of a character from.
Because he was trying to live forever, so he could put himself in a clone.
Yeah, and what if the clone he decided to put himself in was a female? But
that might be her in the trailer.
Yeah, it could be in the trailer. Which to be honest, is that really? Do I think that's really her? Do I seriously think that? No, it's a possibility. But at the same time, it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, one thing you didn't notice is that when you saw that scene, that Rey never said a thing. Mm-hmm. Silent.
Right.
So for all we know, the voice of this Rey could be Palpatine's laugh. Mm. But at the same time, we're still hearing a male laugh, which could contradict everything.
Well, we see Palpatine though on his throne in one of the trailers. So
I haven't seen him in any of the trailers.
Yeah, he's on one of his on the throne there.
But don't forget that was it a hooded figure?
Yeah, but
if it's a hooded figure, it could be the Rey figure hooded.
I don't believe so, but.
No, we don't.
The Force will never be totally imbalanced.
I believe they're going to face off Palpatine.
Well, maybe we should just wait and see how things go. Is my guess.
Well, my final thought is The Last Jedi. Okay, I watched The Last Jedi, and I will say I liked it more this time because I paid more attention to it. But it's a major downer to me. When The Force Awakens ended, Rey's standing there with the lightsaber, and she's handing it out for Luke to take it. We waited 2 years to see what was going to happen. He holds the lightsaber and then tosses it over his shoulder. That was a major kick in the teeth, man. It's like we waited 2 years for that. And then finally, the other major downer is at the very end of the movie when Luke is fighting Kylo Ren. It's not even him; it's a projection. He wasn't really there, and I thought that was another downer.
Well,
I don't agree with you.
I don't agree with either one.
I mean, think about it.
Was cool.
I mean, think about it.
I mean, it was stupid, but it was cool at the same point because he did something pretty powerful in the Force. He transposed himself from a far planet.
Well, yeah, that drained him. He died right after that.
Yeah,
that's a pretty powerful thing.
Well, I'm not saying it wasn't powerful. I mean, honestly, he's got unbelievable force power to that point.
Right.
But it wasn't him, and to me, that was a downer.
Yeah, okay.
Did anybody, just really quick thinking about that scene, see remember the scene with the dice where Luke picks the dice up and hands them to Princess Leia?
Mm-hmm.
So if it was a projection, how is he physically able to pick those up?
Well, remember the dice disappear at the end when Kylo is holding them.
Kylo?
Yeah, the dice weren't real either.
Yeah, okay. Luke throwing the lightsaber away.
Mm-hmm.
That's classic form of drama or storytelling. It's called the hero's journey, and every movie has it. In the beginning, the hero to be isn't heroic yet. He's in his own normal world, living his life. He's in his routine. He doesn't want to go on this big quest. He's going to go on eventually, but initially, the hero to be balks at this quest. So him, in the hero's journey, is called refusing the call. And there's this great goal. He has to save, the galaxy basically, but it starts off, he's not in that mode. He's in his own regular life, and he doesn't want to deviate because if you go on a big quest, there's a lot of risk, and it's a lot of work, and you might not even survive, and it might not even be worth it. So part of the dramatic form is the hero, who's eventually a hero, is going to refuse to go on the journey at first, and eventually he comes around to it. He goes, well, okay, I'll go on this big quest, but initially, you don't see in any movie the hero at the end of the movie is all gung-ho to go on this big dangerous quest.
And I agree with you on that, but they already did that with the first 3 movies.
But you have to treat each movie as a different story. There's a hero's journey for every movie. So even though Luke was a big hero in previous movies, when you start another movie, he's not the hero. He's a former hero who's a regular guy living on this
backwater
remote island, and he's got his own normal life, so he's not looking to go on this big quest. So you know what I mean? I mean, he used to be this great lightsaber, great warrior, but that's in the past. And so he's kind of running from his past. That's why he's living this remote, living in this remote island in the first
To be
place.
honest, I don't think that's why he's living there. He's living there because he's upset with himself that he wasn't able to prevent what happened at the Jedi Temple.
I think he shut himself off from the Force.
That's exactly the point. Because of his downfall, to be
He's
able
running from his
to.
past. He doesn't want to face.
Well, he doesn't want
failures.
He doesn't want to face his failures of being able that he failed all the younglings. But that's just a whole other subject for another time.
I do want to say I can somewhat agree with you guys about the end of The Last Jedi with Luke fighting Kylo in a way. It was kind of a pretty cool scene, and honestly, he's unbelievably powerful to project himself across the universe like that. But I have to stand adamant when I say when he holds the lightsaber and throws it over his shoulder, that was one of the biggest disappointments
That was what? No, and I agree.
I've ever seen in a movie ever. I waited 2 years, and that's what happened.
He throws it over.
Yeah, but it's a necessary disappointment. I mean, emotionally, you're disappointed in him, but you have to realize Luke's become a different person in the interim. So he's running from his past. He doesn't want to think about this.
And that is good
warrior stuff.
cinematography. I mean, we were expecting one thing and we got another, and I guess it played with our emotions a little bit. I agree. I don't like it, but still
Okay,
played.
so next we're gonna say which is our favorite movie of all 8 movies, and so Adam, you go first.
Episode 3 by far.
Okay,
I
Lee.
mean, hold on. Episode 3 by far because, it's how Anakin became Darth Vader. I mean, no other movie has that. They're all just kind of lame and boring.
Okay, Lee.
Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back.
And what?
Just the dialogue between Han and Princess Leia is hilarious. I mean, that great special effects. I just think everything came out perfect. The space battles and the Cloud City.
Okay, you jump.
Empire Strikes Back. It's definitely it's the number one.
Yes.
Empire Strikes Back.
And how come?
It's just well put together. That's where we have the Luke, I'm your father moment. I mean, it's everything changed in the movie, and it was just a genius move, and you just can't beat that type of a movie. And so that's what sets up that movie, really, in a sense, sets up every movie around it, because that's what made it so intriguing and so interesting to watch. And so that's the main one.
How about you, Steve?
For me, it would have to be Star Wars: A New Hope. It's the first Star Wars movie I ever saw. I didn't know there were going to be more Star Wars films after that movie, and I think it's a perfectly put together movie and story, except for the ending where they're getting the awards.
That was kind of stupid.
I thought that was kind of, but the rest of the movie I thought was perfect, and I still like the ending, but it's like
I thought there was too much whining from Luke, from Han, and from C3PO. It's kind of nitpicky, but I decided there was too much whining even for characters that hadn't fully matured yet. I just thought it was a little irritating, but it's a minor.
Well,
I love the first movie too.
Good point.
it's the other show, which means it's joke time. Each of us is going to tell one Star Wars joke.
Okay.
Is there one last thing I can add on to this before we do
Go
our
for
joke? The one scene that I think a lot of people might be wondering what's going on. I mean, we might have a little bit more information now than we originally did. Why does C-3PO have red eyes? Something I want to throw out there just because I
In the trailer?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
It's going to be interesting, but
It could be he's.
I don't know.
I mean, why? One of the things said in the trailer was, "Goodbye, my friends." Well, what is the one thing that we have known that has happened to C-3PO that has not happened to R2-D2 from movie to movie to movie?
He's been in every movie.
His mind has been wiped.
Oh, I didn't know.
Could be. Could have.
No, yeah, somebody has his mind wiped, yeah.
Now think about it. With his mind being wiped, how many of those languages, out of the so many languages that he says that he knows throughout the series, have been wiped along with it? I mean, they wipe his memory and he still knows all these languages? Well, if his memory is wiped, would he forget all these languages? Then they have to somehow reboot him? I mean, if you think about it, if they're going to somehow possibly make it so that he remembers everything that he that from episodes 1 through episode 6, everything that he remembered. I mean, that's a lot of stuff. I mean, where's Master Anakin? There's a lot of confrontation that could be going on. And why are they going to do this? Maybe to read a relic of some sort that they might find. That still doesn't explain the red eyes, but I mean, maybe the red eyes are a way of reading a specific kind of dialect and a different like color tone or something like that. Kind of like a thermal, like thermal imaging or something like that. But I mean, I just think it's something to bring up because that might play a big role as to how things turn out in the movie.
Could be interesting.
So,
Okay.
just a quick thought I wanted to throw out.
Well, it's joke time, so
Why don't we start with Lee?
Lee, you start off with your final. Well, not final.
I'm stealing the one that they haven't showed me. What's Jabba the Hutt's middle name?
I don't know.
The.
Ha! I like that one.
How about you, Steve?
You go ahead.
No, that's okay. I'll go
Okay,
last.
here's my joke. Okay, I made this one up, so it's not good.
I'm excited to hear it.
Okay, what do you guys think of Jar Jar Binks?
I don't know what.
Dum 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 dum.
How about you, John?
Oh, my joke's next? Okay. Which website did Chewbacca create to share Empire secrets?
I don't know what.
You know? WikiLeaks.
Wiki what?
WikiLeaks.
Wiki Leaks. Okay, I get it.
Okay,
Okay. This is kind of another rip on Chewbacca, right? So Luke says to his dad, "Hey, Dad, what's for dinner tonight?" Vader goes and says, "Wookiee steaks." Luke looks at him and says, "Oh, well, are they? Is it any good?" Well, Vader goes and says, "It's very chewy."
ha ha. Well, it's the end of the show. I'd like to thank our two special guests, John Royalty and Adam Dozel.
Thanks for having us. It was a lot of fun.
And remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And remember, as always, we'll be watching
For you.
The show's not quite over. We forgot to give our pre-show scores. These are the scores that we feel we'll be giving Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker next week when we review it. I believe I will be giving it an 8. Lee thinks he'll be giving it a 9. John thinks he'll be giving it a 7. But he says if Anakin and also Darth Sidious both show up and the Force is balanced, he'll probably be giving it a higher score. And finally, Adam believes he'll be giving it an 8. Here are the scores. Before I go, I want to show you something that I think is kind of cool. A few weeks ago when I went to GalaxyCon, I got this Star Wars The Last Jedi book. But what's so special about Star Wars The Last Jedi book? Well, it's signed by the author! Yay! It says, "Just you and Craig, may the Force be with you always, Jason Fry." Well, I just want to show that to you. And happy holidays. And as always, I'll be watching for you.